Hey guys, thanks for joining me. And if you like what you see, please subscribe.
Hello, peoples. Welcome to Sharp Ends. I have something special to share with you today. I have a Civivi Vision, which I've never opened before, and I'm really stoked about it. I bought it directly from Wii. So Wii has three divisions, if you don't know. Wii does like the high-end stuff, and then Sencut does like mid-range, sometimes a little bit of high, but mainly low-end. And then they have the Civivi brand, which does only low-end. But they sent me this patch. I ordered it directly from the website. Um, and this is one of those Velcro ones. I'm not really going to use this, but that's cool. Um, yeah, so I'm really excited about this. This looks really nice, and a lot of people have called it the knife of the year. I'm going to open it with my little CJRB Pyrite, which is $30. This ultralight one, which currently I think might be the best bargain out there. I would love to thank my Patreon subscribers while I open this. Thank you guys so much. You really make the magic happen. And if you guys could leave a comment, like, or subscribe, that really helps out the channel. So thanks so much for doing that in advance. All right. The standard Civivi pouch, standard Civivi thing, little booklet here. And this version I got was the version that has, and it comes in a lot of different versions, a lot of different colors. It comes with Lexan, which is the clear plastic, right? So there's Ultim, which is a aviation plastic, high end, and it's this yellow color. But Lexan, which I actually have used extensively in my carpentry when I've done work on theater shows, Lexan is clear. All right. So first off, this just looks different than almost any Civivi I've ever had. This has this back lock here, this spine lock. There's probably a name for that. I don't remember what it is. Does it say here? This is Nitro V blade, clear Lexan. All right, so this lock here is what's locking it. It comes all the way back here, so it's not quite like, you know, your standard shark lock, which only comes back here and has a compression spring here. I assume that this has a compression spring too, but I'm not sure. I haven't taken it apart yet. I will be taking it apart. This is the first impressions, but I will do a disassembly of this. The Lexan itself is slightly textured. Might not be able to see it because it's see-through. It's cool being able to see the inside though. I like that a lot. You see where the stop pins are and the pins that hold it together. Basically what we have is a pin in the back here, which maybe that's where you would tie a lanyard onto, that your pocket clip is attached to, and it's reversible. And then you've got your pivot, and those are the only two screws that are holding this whole knife together. And then you've got these pins in here which are doing other parts of it, right? Like, so that these two here are for the lock, and these two here for stability, although the ones for the lock are also for stability. All right, so let's take a look at this. Is Nitro V. It's a really good steal for this price range, which I believe was $90. Oh wow, I like that belt sand. First I thought it might be hologram, which would be really cool, but designed by Sneck. Sneck, S-N-E-C-Z. Don't know that design. I'll have to look it up. We've got running on bearings, and you can see inside there, really clean look inside. You can't really see how the lock is running at all. That works really nicely. This is really proud. I can finger flick it, thumb flick it. Very nice. And I like how the knife is proud here. The thumb studs aren't in the plane of the blade because you've got this big choke up point right here. No jimping. Nice crowning on the top of the blade. Sandwich construction. So not so the liners are not inset, which is fine. Although for $90, I almost feel like it should be, but it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I really like that sound, that ting. This blade looks really sweet. It really does. We're talking about 3 1/4 inches and an overall of 8. You've got this sheep's foot type blade with a little bit of belly in it, makes it really good for utility type cuts. And because the blade is coming down proud almost of the scales or the handle, it's going to be really good for cutting down onto surfaces, That's very nice. This belt finish is good. I don't necessarily like belt finishes. I mean, they look nice when they come out of the box, but do you see this stone washed, stone tumbled finish up here that they have? I almost actually prefer that because it hides wear and tear a lot better. This here, as soon as you start cleaning it and doing other things, even though this belt grind looks really sexy, it shows up scratches on it real fast. So in a way, I prefer something like, this shark is tumble finished, right? And it's gone through the wars and pretend like it's clean. But you can't see any of the scratches and other stuff because the tumble finish just hides all that wear and tear. That's not going to be true of this knife. Yeah. I think that the pivot is just a skosh too tight. And I bet this is T8. It is T8. Back here, we're looking at T6. So two different types of hardware. Looks like a locking pivot though, the Civivi. This is going to have like a little ridge in here, and it's going to be locked into the plastic Lexan most likely. Just going to take a skosh of a turn off there. Yeah, that's much better. Just a little bit. There's something about the geometry between the pivot and the thumb stud that isn't perfect. It's good. It's great, but it's not perfect. Like, this is perfect. You can never misfire this. I just misfired. You can never misfire this because of the geometry between the pivot and the thumb stud. This is just a little off, and there's not quite enough. I mean, there's plenty of access there. You just have to be aware of how you're doing it. I think a lot of people, though, are just going to open this by pushing this back. I think some people will also complain. There's some jimping on here to help hold it. I guess that's interesting. No jimping up here, though, if you choke up. That's just something I'm observing, not necessarily a complaint. I think some people might complain, like if you're holding this really tight like this, they might say that this is a hot spot, and it definitely gets biting in right there. It's not absurdly. I mean, this is like if I was like holding this and I was doing like tons and tons of cutting somehow with that, I might feel a hot spot there after a lot of cutting. But I think that's true of almost every knife. In some place, they all have hot spots. The Civivi clip with this bill here looks really proud and big. Not necessarily the biggest fan of that. However, all right, so I've had a little nitpicky things. Overall, I think this knife looks stunningly cool. I like it a lot. It's unique. I like unique. Nothing that this knife is doing is specifically unique, but it all together, it looks and feels different. And having handled a lot of knives over the last several years, I appreciate it when something just is different, and this is definitely different. The speed holes are not my thing usually. However, I don't mind them in this. Maybe I'm becoming less jaded in my old age, but I don't mind this as much anymore. I won't necessarily go for speed holes, but in a design like this with the see-through Lexan and I like it. Something about the aesthetic of this taken in totality that I definitely like. It's interesting, we've also obviously got left-handed option here for the clip, but it's interesting too that that the pocket clip is like up in this corner. So when you're wearing it in your pocket, it's going to be a little bit away from that crease in the middle, whereas usually a pocket clip is closer to the middle of the scale. And that's just interesting. And I get the reason they did that is because of the speed hole, I guess, right? So you want to see a little bit of that speed hole. Now, I don't see any point to this hole right here other than you can see the lock. It's like a little window into how the lock works, and it's locking into the back there, right? And so the whole time you can see it going along the back and then locking in place there. And when it comes up, it's locking in there, obviously, right? And that's acting as a stop, right? There's no detent or lock lash, and there's no lock. There's a little bit of a squeak here when I pull back. I assume that will go away. I assume that there's a compression spring in here too. You do not want to get oil on this surface or that. You'll start to get a little bit of lock stick in general with locks like this. So you don't want to have grease on there. You can see in here the bearings as well. They look like metal bearings, not the plastic ones. So we'll definitely be taking this apart and taking a look at the inside. Interesting knife. So in knife of the year, really? I mean, maybe at this price point it is. But I can already think of a couple of knives that I've seen that have come out this year that are definitely in the contest. So this is in the contest for knife of the year. Why? Because it's unique and it's different. And the price point too. This is accessible. A lot of the other knives of the year that I'm thinking off the top of my head are not accessible to a lot of people because of the price point. People are not going to want to spend that kind of money. $90 though, I think it was $90. Maybe it was 95, something like that. I think people will spring for that just for something a little bit different. Very cool. Eventually, after I do my deconstruction and I do my final review, and then I probably make a video at the end of the year about, knives of the year kind of thing, I will end up giving this to my Patreon subscribers. My Patreon subscribers every month get a chance to win a knife. $3 a month by following the link down below. You too can win a knife. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. What do you guys think about the Vision? Very interesting. I'm kind of excited about it, honestly. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys next time on Sharp Ends. Bye-bye now. All right, so this is, all right, so I got to get all this crap out of the way here, and then I got to get it so that we have a nice little picture here, and then this is going to become what I use for the thumbnail. That's some behind-the-scenes action for you guys. All right, see you guys later. Bye-bye.